Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today's video is going to be another makeup tutorial. This is on a look that I did a few weeks ago. I'd meant to get this up earlier but lost my footage. So this is kind of a twist on a cut crease. It's not as sharp and defined in the crease, but you do still have that kind of smoky depth in there. So to start off, I'm taking this Smashbox eyeshadow primer and I'm using my fingertips to kind of smooth this onto my eyelids. You only need a little bit. A little goes a long way. And I like to take a little bit of powder and just kind of lightly set that primer. I find everything blends over and it also helps it last longer as well. And then I'm going in with the Lorac Pro 3 palette. I'm taking a mixture of these two shades here on a fluffy blending brush, and I'm just going to be buffing that kind of back and forth into my crease and just above the crease of the eye here, kind of below my brow bone. Then I'm taking this brown eyeliner. You want one that's really creamy and blendable, and I'm going to be kind of smudging this out with a small pencil brush right in that crease area. This is going to form the base of our cut crease. Over top, I'm taking a mixture of this dark black and dark brown with a kind of pointed, thin pencil brush. This one's from Morphe. And I'm going to be kind of lightly back and forth buffing this in, just kind of blending, but also creating the shape that I want to get. Then I'm going in with a brush that's a little bit more tapered, a little bit more fluffy. And I'm not adding any extra color at this point. I'm just really kind of buffing that out. I want it to be nice and blended. So I just kind of lightly blend that back and forth until it is nice and softened. Like I said, I want this to be more of a diffused cut crease. I don't want it to be super intense and sharp. Then I like to take a concealer and kind of clean up the edge of that crease. So just on a small flat brush, I'm applying this concealer to my eyelid and kind of carving out that line of the crease there. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to be putting eyeshadow over top. This concealer is awesome because it lasts a really long time and colors blend nicely over top. I like to take a little bit more of that warm light brown and just kind of buff that into the crease again. Just make sure everything is nice and blended. And then I'm taking this Revlon Duo. It has kind of like a cream shadow on one end and a liner on the other. And I'm using the cream side. It has a little doe foot applicator, so I'm just going to be applying this all over the lid. Over top of that, I'm taking a pink shimmer and I'm going to be pressing that right on while it's still wet. I don't know the brand of this pink shimmer because it was just like a generic one that I picked up at a beauty show a couple years ago. So it doesn't have like a brand name or anything on it. But any kind of fine pinkish shimmer will do. Then I'm just going back in with a little bit more brown and black just to clean up the edges, blend everything together. For liner, I'm taking a mixture because my Kat Von D liner was drying out and I was running out kind of halfway through. So I love to create the tail with this one because the Kat Von D tip just creates such a perfect wing. And then I'm filling it in with this Absolute New York liner. I kind of went back and forth just seeing which ones weren't dried out. I think it's time for me to buy a new one. Also extending that line thinly towards the inner corner. Taking light gold, I think it's called, from the palette. I just highlighted my brow bone with that. And then using the other end of that Revlon Duo, this is the glitter liner side, I'm going to be pressing that right over top of the eyeshadow, just in kind of little strokes. I don't want to mess up what we have underneath, but this kind of adds some extra sparkle, some extra shimmer. And then once that's dry, I'm going to give my lashes some curl. This is just a Revlon lash curler from the drugstore. I'm going to apply a quick coat of mascara. Doesn't have to be perfect because I am going to put some falsies over top. I just find everything blends together, and because my lashes are so straight, curling them and applying mascara helps them blend much more easily with the falsies. These are my favorite lashes. I use them all the time. These are by Kiss and I got them from Walmart. They're a good dupe for the Ardell Demi Wispies. For primer, I'm using this Too Faced primer. Before going in with my foundation, as always, I'm doing my favorite mixture just because I want the coverage, but I want it to blend out a lot more easily. To blend out that foundation, I'm going to be using the oval brushes from My Makeup brush set. I did do a full video review for these brushes, which is where I was wearing this makeup look. Overall, I do really love the brushes. For a very thick foundation like I used today, I kind of just wanted to make sure everything was blended into my skin as much as possible, because even though it's a full coverage foundation, it definitely gives a very smooth, kind of perfected finish. And it's really easy to get into the sides of the nose as well. And then, of course, applying some to my forehead. I'm using the medium-sized brush. It's not the huge one, but it's not the tiny one. They don't really come with any names or numbers on them, so I can't list those for you. To color correct my under eyes, I'm using this small, flat rounded brush with the NYX Dark Circle Corrector, and I use the shade 3 because it's extra kind of salmon-y color and that helps counteract my dark circles. Before going over top with the Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer, I've really been loving this one lately. The trick with this one is you gotta work with it quickly because it dries very fast and it's thick and long wearing, so otherwise it can look a little heavy. But if you work with it quickly, kind of melt it into the skin with your finger, it is a gorgeous finish and it's on all day. So I'm taking the smaller oval brush to blend that into my under eye area, as well as to also clean up that line of the liner and help it look more kind of clean and professional. Next, I'm taking the Laura Mercier Invisible Setting Powder, not the translucent, the invisible, because the translucent is just a bit too matte for me. And I'm just going to be lightly setting my under eye concealer, just tapping it into the skin. If you're really dry, you can skip this step. For contour, I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me foundation. It's a little warmer than I usually use, but I was too lazy to sharpen my Smashbox one, so I thought I'd use more of a drugstore alternative. So I'm just applying a light amount of that by my cheekbone and then blending it into the skin. Just in kind of sweeping back and forth motions. I'm also going to take a little bit of this on the really, really thin brush and take that down the sides of my nose just to kind of help sculpt it out a little bit more. My allergies have been really bad, so I'm noticing my nose has been swollen a bit more. I'm also taking a little bit just above my temple there to help kind of recede my brow bone that sticks out so much. I don't know if it even does anything, but it makes me feel better. For highlight, I'm taking the Pure Strobing Kit, and I'm using this middle shade here. I've been obsessed with this, and I'm taking the longer flat brush and lightly sweeping that onto my cheekbones, as well as a little bit down the bridge of my nose and my Cupid's bow. I love doing it this way, it just makes it look really natural. I'm also taking that same Smashbox powder and just lightly setting my face before going in with bronzer for some extra warmth and dimension. I love this Pure bronzer, it's probably my favorite. Then for contour, I am taking a little bit of this cooler tone shade from the Kat Von D palette on the smaller oval brush, mostly focusing this on kind of the back of my cheekbone up towards the tip of my ear, just for kind of some extra sculpting effect. For blush, I'm taking this Lorac blush. I love the texture of this. It's very blendable and it's very flattering on the skin. It helps kind of smooth everything out. And this is the Morphe E4 brush, I believe. It's really easy to just kind of hit the apples of your cheeks with this. I'm also taking that same Laura Mercier setting powder to do a little bit of baking. So I'm applying this in a thin line right underneath my blush and contour. This is just going to help set everything in place and clean it up. I'm going to let that sit there and do its magic while I kind of move on to the rest of my face and just finish everything else up. And then I'll brush it away after. To finish my eyes, I'm using this dark brown on this small, flat, kind of squared brush from the set, and I'm just going to be smoking my lower lash line out with this. My footage went missing, but I did put that same dark brown eyeliner from before inside my waterline. For lip liner, I'm going to use a bit of this MAC lip liner just to help kind of enhance the shape of my lips. I am trying to now start moving away from brands that test on animals, so if you guys know a really good dupe for a shade like this, definitely let me know. And then I'm going to be mixing two Anastasia Beverly Hills lipsticks, so I just mix them on the back of my hand, and then I am going to be applying them with the more rounded brush, this tiny little guy here. You can use any of the small ones though. I like doing it this way because it helps smooth out a thin layer, so you can build it up as much as you want without it getting really heavy and flaky. Not that these ones typically get flaky, but I just find it easier. Then I'm topping it with a little bit of this peachy pink lip gloss just for some extra shine and color. And that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. And concealer and whatnot can kind of glide over much more